One. Boom. And we're live.
All right, good.
Welcome to everyone. You're watching the second episode of the Cult of Current Affairs. I'm your host, Billy Green. And with us this week is Scoob.
Scoob. Yep, that is my name. That is my alias. I'm everyone who's listening who knows who I am, just keep it on the low, all right? Okay? Because everyone fucking who's our friend is going to be like, oh, it's him.
Yeah.
That's why he was fucking gone so long.
Yeah, I mean, your voice is kind of iconic, you know.
It's an icon. It's an advert for me. It's it's what sells me.
Yeah. But so this week, Scoob's here to talk about the mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And his experiences with that.
Yeah.
But obviously, in terms of current affairs, we've got the current coronavirus epidemic.
The new craze.
Yeah, dude. And we've also got the countdown to Brexit. So, as of today, as of recording, we leave the European Union at 11 p.m.
Hell yeah.
Lots of people will be having parties for different reasons. Some will celebrate it as Independence Day. Others will be saying farewell to their European neighbours.
Yeah.
But to start, Scoob, do you want to give like a brief summary of why you're here?
Yeah. All right. So recently I was sorry, some on my tongue. Recently I was sectioned, which if you didn't know, is when you're so fucking insane that the government goes, well, we're gonna lock him up without his consent and throw away the key. And I decided after I got out that I was gonna be like, well, I'm gonna try and help break the stigma by talking about it, doing some stuff about it, writing about it. And this is the first podcast I came around, and I was like, well, might as well do it here.
Well, glad to be your first choice.
Yeah, no, always, Billy.
Yeah, thank you. So, obviously in the past few weeks, the bat soup virus has gotten kind of out of control. We stand now at officially over 7,000 cases. Unofficially,
How many are fucking dead?
I think it's at 150 as of yesterday.
I wanted to say that's not that bad, but it is.
Yeah, and also I think it's also a case of like because there's so far so few infections, I've been able to keep on top of it. But when the death toll is going to climb, same with any kind of epidemic, it's when eventually medical supplies start running out, when the health service can't handle it anymore.
How the fuck are we gonna stop it? Did we? And I know this sounds like a fucking dumb question, but did we stop Ebola?
Yeah, we did. We got essentially what happened was we got I think 3 or 4 cases here, but those are people who'd contracted it in like the Congo and in Sierra Leone, who were aid workers and they were flying back. So basically, it's just good quarantine measures were stopping that.
Yeah.
And also, but the problem with that is there's significantly fewer people flying to and from the Congo than there are flying to and from China.
Yeah,
So it's way you could probably quarantine every plane coming out of the fucking Congo, and you wouldn't hold up commerce too much. You quarantine every plane coming out of China, you're going to cause some serious issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the happiest.
No, exactly. But the Chinese government are handling it kind of well. So, for example, like in China, they've got those ghost towns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like those ones they just build up for the real estate. Well, they've basically gutted the buildings out of one of those and have turned it into a hospital. Took them 2 days. It was like big ass, like, I think it was meant to be like a huge office block, but they've just gutted it and turned it into a hospital specifically for that virus.
Yeah.
So they got it kind of unlocked. Obviously, it's spread a little bit. So it's been confirmed, I think, in 17 other countries.
Oh, shit. How many was... fuck, why do I keep bringing this up? But Ebola.
I
Because
think
Ebola was the last crazy disease.
Ebola was the last, like, crazy one. Everyone's like, oh, god damn it, I'm going to shit my guts out.
Like, that's the one I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the only comparable one.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, how many countries do you think Ebola got to?
Oh, I think it was roughly, like, the same amount.
Yeah.
Like, Ebola was contained quite quickly and quite easily. But, it's kind of, like, roughly the same. But, yeah, as I said, the Wuhan virus, the time it's going to get out of control is going to be, like, when the Chinese government can't keep up with it anymore, which is going to be, that
Pretty
might
soon.
that might never come, depending on how well they quarantine Wuhan, because Wuhan's a massive city, which a lot of people don't understand, is that China is utterly massive both in terms of size and in terms of population.
Yeah.
Their cities are way bigger than ours. So imagine if you tried to quarantine London. Wuhan, I think, is actually bigger than London. I think Wuhan's got like 10 million people in it.
That sounds like a fucking job.
Yeah.
And a half.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine trying to quarantine all of London. Now, don't get me wrong, Wuhan, because there was a AMA done on Reddit recently from inside Wuhan.
I saw.
Yeah, and so Wuhan's apparently gone kind of dead recently because there's nothing to go outside for. The restaurants are all closed. Places where public assembly normally is, that's all closed. The wet markets are closed.
Yeah.
There's grocery stores, but the government is literally supplying the grocery stores directly, and the grocery stores are supplying people. Everything is really strictly locked down. I mean, you're allowed to go outside, but there's no reason for you to.
Yeah.
Now anymore because everything's been closed. So a lot of people are voluntarily staying indoors and shit like that. So it, I don't. Is it going to get that much worse? Probably not. Should people stop eating bats? Yes.
Yeah, obviously. I fully agree. Maybe the bat situation isn't like the bat. Wait, why the fuck did they eat bats?
The thing about Chinese cuisine is it has a lot of delicacies that to Western people sound really fucking weird. Right?
Yeah, no,
so like,
I know.
It's like embryonic eggs.
Oh, I fucking saw that in An Idiot Abroad.
Yeah, just so. Don't get me wrong. I assume bat must taste good because people wouldn't eat it if it didn't taste good. Here's the problem: I've never heard of a bat farm, so I can only assume the bats they're getting aren't farmed. They're bats that people have just caught out in the wild. Now, eating wild animals, with the exception of game, because they mainly just eat plants, right?
Yeah.
Except for like bears and stuff. And bears, bears you have to be quite careful with eating.
Fuck, do I want to eat a bear? That sounds so cool.
You can, to get a bit of a sidetrack, but bear, there's only two things really you got to watch out for. One is it's so greasy. You got to cut most of the fat off of it, otherwise it will be so oily and weird. Like bear meat looks and feels like no other meat you've ever tasted. It kind of feels like waxy.
Have you had it?
I haven't had it. I have learned how to cook bear meat.
That's fucking cool.
And you know how the government regulations on cooking pork are way higher than they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Bear meat is the same, but the thing is, bear meat isn't higher than it needs to be. It actually needs to be cooked quite a lot because, I think it's like 40% of bears are infected with the trichinosis parasite, which is the same reason why way back in the 70s they told people to start cooking pork at higher temperatures, was because specifically American pork was getting trichinosis left, front, and center.
Yeah.
Now that's not as much of a problem anymore because farmers have improved their standards, but trichinosis is still an issue with bears because obviously they're wild animals. They will, they eat whatever they come across. But that's the same issue with like why you can't eat wild pigeon. Well, you can't eat city pigeons. You can eat wood pigeons, and I have done. They taste quite nice. There's no issue there.
Yeah.
But if you eat, say a pigeon from the city, you're going to get a parasite because they eat foul things every day because they're scavengers.
Yeah.
Right. They become scavengers at that point rather than looking for grain and stuff. But yeah, that's why you really shouldn't eat bats. There's nothing inherently wrong with eating a bat, right? As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, just simply eating a bat that isn't infected with anything doesn't carry any health risks. Pull me up on it if it does. It's the same with eating horses. Eating horses. Like for example, in Japan, that's a really it's like a staple. It's like beef. It's just you're eating a horse, okay?
Fuck, can I just bring something up that's like totally sidetracked? But the fucking horse thing at Tesco's. Right. What was that? Oh no, I know what that was, but like,
yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with eating horses, right? There's nothing. Literally, horse meat tastes like beef, but slightly more minerally.
Yeah,
but
I get like people weren't allowed to eat it.
Well, it's not even just that. It's a case of the horses they were using in the Findus products some of them were suspected to have equine AIDS.
Nice.
Which, obviously,
not
equine AIDS, as far as I'm aware, has never crossed a species barrier. But it's a matter of principle. You don't give people who have horses. You don't let people eat horses that have AIDS.
Yeah,
that's a case of like win stupid games, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. And also the fact that they were marketing it as beef, which you can't take something that isn't something and market it as that something.
Yeah, I just remember that being such a fucking craze. I was like, oh, well, how old were we there? Like 10?
Probably.
That was just
I must have been like 11.
everywhere.
Yeah, probably like 10 or 11 when
That
that happened.
everywhere when that happened.
Yeah, it was huge. It was kind of funny though.
It was so funny. I was like, what the fuck? This is like a comic.
Do you ever see do you remember that 3, the mobile network?
Yeah.
Do you remember that advert they did with the pony?
No?
The dancing pony?
No, I don't.
Oh, dude, that was great. It was basically Everywhere You Are by Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Or was it just called Everywhere? I'm not sure. But it was basically a pony dancing to that. Now, I think it was called The Poke. It's like a satire newspaper. It's the same paper that did the song of Nick Clegg saying "I'm sorry." Did you ever see that one as well?
Oh my god!
The same paper that
was
did
such
that.
A classic.
Yeah, the same paper that did that. They did an edit of that where at the end of it, the pony like moonwalks backwards, and all you can hear is like the sounds of an abattoir, like the sounds of bandsaws and like blood splattering onto the screen. And then he gets packaged into a Findus lasagna, which that was like the peak. That's the peak of 2012 comedy right there.
That was good.
Yeah,
2012 was the best year. Argue.
It was elite. It was elite.
It was the fucking shit, especially for Brits.
Yeah.
The Olympics. Oh my god, what was it like? One of the Jubilees?
Yeah. I think that was 2013. It must have been because
maybe they kind of.
Actually, no, it was. Sorry, no. The celebrations were in 2013. I remember because I'd come to high school when the celebrations happened. But the actual Jubilee, the Diamond Jubilee, was in 2012 because she was crowned in 1952.
Best year.
Yeah, legit. It was elite.
It was so good. That was like the only year that I've been so like genuinely happy.
Yeah, but like in summary of that whole incident, don't eat bats.
Yeah.
Don't eat bats.
To wrap up all of the things that we've just fucking gone on about, the message here is just don't eat bats.
Yeah, actually, tell you what, if John, I'm gonna throw out a Dragon's Den idea for you here. If they have a Chinese version of Dragon's Den, start a bat farm.
Start a bat farm.
Legit, just come on and be like, "Hello, dragons."
You've all heard about the recent virus.
Yeah, you've all heard about people dying because we won't stop chugging bat soup. So I present to you farming bats that aren't riddled with parasites and viruses.
Just an idea. You guys don't have to take me up on it, but like, I think it would be helpful for the masses.
So yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
What's next? What's the next fucking event?
Well, as of right now, we stand at 13 hours to go.
Oh my god.
Until
I don't even care at this point. I'm literally at first I was like, wow, this is so shit, and then I was like, actually, you know what? It's gonna happen. I don't give a fuck.
I'm so glad you've arrived to that conclusion because there's so many people who still haven't.
Yeah.
So many people still haven't quite gotten over it. That it's finally happening. But I mean, I'm someone who backed Brexit.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit that. But it's just how long it's taken. Like for the longest time, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I just kind of hate Parliament right now.
That's me 24/7.
Yeah, well, obviously I always hate Parliament, but my frustrations were at an all-time high. I wrote a letter to my MP, a handwritten letter. I did it all nice.
Did you reply?
No,
oh.
that made me even angry. I did like a wax seal on it too. I had a wax seal on it.
Wait, was that Clive?
Yeah.
Oh, what a twat! I fucking hate. No offense, Clyde, but I really dislike you. He just seems like an obnoxious cunt.
I've met him a few times.
Same.
He's nice to talk to. He's nice enough to talk to. The main issue is he doesn't respond to my letters. I've sent him 3
like
now, and none of them have gotten a response. It's not even me being a fanboy.
He hasn't fucking responded to my letters.
Yeah, well, he hasn't. I don't want to sound like entitled or anything, but I am a constituent. I mean, I'm not old enough to vote, but I am still a constituent. He still represents my interests. I shouldn't have to wait for him
to come to school,
to come to my school and see him in person, or have to go to one of those bloody climate strikes because I don't go to them anymore. I went there twice to check it out, and I decided it was cringe. And he was there, and I decided to, like, you know, say hello. But I shouldn't have to wait for that from a local MP. I should be able to engage with him directly about issues that I care about.
Yeah.
And I understand if he doesn't respond to all 3 of my letters, but at least respond to one. You know, make an effort. And the worst bit was his office. You know, I could kind of believe this the first time, but his office simply keeps denying that they ever get my letters. I like emails as follow up, and they go, "Yeah, we haven't got them."
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally my kind of response. But you know, he seems like a nice guy. He's got his head screwed on. My main issues is he's literally part of a Labour group that advocates for open borders, which, as I'm sure you know, is definitely not my thing.
Yeah, I know it's not your thing. I personally, I think there should be. I'm not gonna be a fucking idiot. I think there should definitely be control. Yeah. I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, everyone, come in." You know, I'm gonna be like, but at the same time, I don't want to be like, "Fuck, don't come into this country." I'm open to other people coming in, but at the same time,
I am the same. You know,
yeah.
As long as it doesn't cause social unrest or, you know, like dramatic social change that is unneeded, or, like, you know, undermines the culture of our country, then, you know, there's no real issue here. You know? It's just moderation. You know, you know, skilled immigration is, you know, economically, like, if you look at it from pure economics, it is generally accepted that skilled immigration is objectively a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think one of the big problems with that is that you have to remember that not everything is down to economics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very left wing, and I'm friends with you. But I totally agree with the border thing. Well, I don't totally, but I understand kind of where you're coming from. I kind of get the whole gist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I respect that.
Yeah. No, I also don't believe that there should be a completely open border. I don't think really anyone who has thought about it thinks there should be a fully open border.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
it's a nice way to tell everyone that you're a nice person.
Yeah.
Is to advocate for open borders and to post pictures of children going, "Oh, why don't you want to let them in?"
But it also shows you're kind of a fucking idiot.
It does. It really does. In that, you know, there is historical precedent, you know, for multicultural societies falling apart. And there was one that happened literally only 20 years ago. Look at Yugoslavia.
Look at you.
Literally, the only thing holding that country together was one man. As soon as he died, the whole thing went to shit in a big way. In a massive way.
What happened?
That's, what, you know, like the Yugoslav Civil War?
I have literally never heard of it. Tell me about it.
All right, so...
I'm sure some of our listeners haven't either.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Bosnian War?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Well, the Bosnian War was kind of like the worst child of the Yugoslav Civil War.
Shit child.
Yeah. So, like, in 1991, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, this is, I think, shortly after Joseph Tito died. You know, Joseph Tito ruled Yugoslavia since 1945, and
Good on
Tito was a Chad. As far as communists go, he was a Chad. He was probably the only person in the world who told Stalin to go and fuck himself and got away with it.
Yeah.
You ever heard the story about that?
No.
So Tito, a lot of the time, because obviously he was only in power because when Stalin liberated Yugoslavia, I use the term liberated quite loosely here.
Yeah,
liberated. The Soviets were not liberators. Arguably, in some areas, they were worse than the people they took it from.
Yeah. Most.
Yeah. So basically, Stalin had put Tito in charge because Tito had led Yugoslavian partisans during the war. Now, Stalin and Tito didn't see eye to eye. And, you know, lots of people who Stalin appointed didn't see eye to eye. And most of the time, they just agreed with him because Stalin had a habit of killing people for literally no reason, if you look at the Great Purge. You know, he would kill people because he would look at his sheet of paper and say, "You didn't kill enough people this week. Beria, go kill some more people because the Trotskyites are going to take over," right?
Yeah.
So that's just within the Soviet Union. So normally whenever one of his puppets would act up, they would soon be replaced. Tito continuously told Stalin to go and fuck himself about multiple things. Stalin's response was to send an assassin. Didn't work. Do it again. Didn't work. Do it again. Didn't work. He gets a note from Tito saying, "The next time you send an assassin, I will send one of my own. And he's not going to fail." Which is the ultimate...
It's fucking Chad.
That is the ultimate Chad move. You take the man of steel, the man who kills who has killed countless millions of people with impunity, who took down the Third Reich, and you tell him you're going to kill him if he tries to kill you again. That's a powerful move.
Yeah, definitely. Got balls on him.
Yeah, but the thing is, Yugoslavia as a country naturally really shouldn't exist. The reason Yugoslavia existed was it's kind of like a remnant from the old Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So after World War One, they divided up the borders of
Yeah.
Austria-Hungary, broke it up to Austria-Hungary, and and Romania as well. A bit of it was, and like Czechoslovakia, but Yugoslavia was the biggest out of all of them. And Yugoslavia is, as a nation now, it was comprised of numerous ethnic groups. So mainly you had Serbians, Croats, some Albanians, Macedonians, Slovenians. I might be missing some, but so you had all these and Bosnians, of course, but Bosnians are a Muslim minority within Yugoslavia, from the days of the Ottoman Empire. But we're getting a bit esoteric there. We're getting like literally, it's like if I keep going, I'll go back to when Adam and Eve first throw out the Garden of Eden, you know. But so essentially, after Tito died, Tito was the fabric. Like these groups naturally hated each other, right? So when Hitler took over Yugoslavia, he sent the Croats into the rest of Yugoslavia to kill the partisans, because the Croats hated the ethnic groups that the partisans were made up of, right? So these were ethnic groups that naturally had hated each other for centuries, and they were forced together into these nations, into this nation, Yugoslavia. So it barely worked when Prince Paul, who was the appointed Prince of Yugoslavia after World War One, was alive. It worked very well when Tito was alive and he was running it, because he had this really weird thing. He was able to keep these ethnic groups together. Yeah. Right? He kept, like, he basically created, like, a bit like how the Soviet Union did, but with that, while killing less people, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
substantially less people died.
Significantly less people. But when he died, and fun fact about Tito, he had the most attended state funeral in history.
What the fuck? Good on him.
Yeah, more world leaders attended his funeral than any other person's ever.
I'm gonna one up that cunt.
When the Queen dies, she's probably gonna one up him.
Yeah.
It's the Queen of England, you know.
Holy shit, she's never gonna fucking die. Honestly, Jesus Christ, what is that bitch taking?
Well, her mum lived to be quite old. I think her mum was over 100 when she died.
Holy moly, though, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Queen Mother was quite old when she died, so if she takes after her mum, then she'll be around for, you know, maybe like another 10 years.
Well, I want to have another Jubilee, I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, of course, you know. And, you know, she is our glorious sovereign.
Yeah, well, praise her, man.
Yeah. But essentially, when he died, obviously the cult of personality he'd created, and also, like, the Yugoslavian unity he had created began to crumble apart. So a lot of these ethnic tensions, which were being hidden for a long time, were coming back up. Mm-hmm. And that resulted in the Yugoslavian Civil War, with all the different... Because Yugoslavian was comprised of different republics. It was like a federal system, kind of. And those federal states were built along ethnic lines for administrative reasons, because it made sense, because you can't just... typically, you can't take two ethnic groups that have hated each other for centuries, stick them in the same administrative region, expect to live along
like
side by
Palestine
side.
and Israel.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like, you know, most ethnic... Kind of like literally Africa now.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of conflict there is because we were forced out very quickly and didn't have time to divide the land up properly. But I digress. So the Yugoslavian Civil War broke out, and throughout, like, the early 90s, up until, like, even today, kind of, it's still kind of going on with Kosovo. So these ethnic groups were beginning to, like, kind of, you know, fight each other. So there was Serbia, who, until I think like 1998 or 1999, were still claiming to be the government of Yugoslavia. So they were fighting to unify the whole country again. You had Croatians who were fighting for their independence, but also it was like a land grab. Because obviously the problem with a country that's forced ethnic groups together for a long time is they move. So you get significant pockets, you get significant enclaves kind of outside of those natural borders. So the other ethnic groups were fighting to take control of those enclaves that also contained members of the other ethnic groups. So there was conflict there. So the chances of splitting apart peacefully were non-existent. Yeah. So essentially what happened there was, you know, there was a pretty brutal conflict going on. we actually ended up having to get involved in Kosovo towards the end of the war. This is when the rest of them had kind of stopped fighting each other. But a place called Kosovo broke away from Serbia because Kosovo is the part of Yugoslavia that has a really significant Albanian minority.
Mm-hmm.
And Albanians weren't treated well in Serbia. So they broke away. Serbia still claims Kosovo. They still say it doesn't exist, but the West has recognised it as a country in its own right. It's still tricky. There's still sometimes armed skirmish over it. But yeah, that's kind of like what happened in the Yugoslavian Civil War.
Well, for anyone who didn't know, we just summarised it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a fucking podcast. Summarising entire bits of history.
Why were we talking about the Yugoslavian Civil War in the first place?
I think we were talking about it. I don't know why we're talking about the Yugoslavian Civil War.
About open borders, that's it.
Open borders.
Yes, that's it. So basically that is a case in point, a really recent example of why you shouldn't have open borders, because you will have you'll have massive swaths of ethnic groups come in, and not all of those ethnic groups get along well. You know,
Wouldn't it just be... I know this is fucking fantasy, but wouldn't it be nice if we all just got along?
oh, of course it would. I'd love it.
No,
if people
wouldn't that
got
just
along.
be just a nice little idea?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'd love that.
Guys, I'm just gonna like say this. I'm gonna be a little bit controversial, but like, what if we were all just friends?
yeah, that'd be nice. It's unfortunate. That's just the way it is, though, isn't it?
It is.
Conflict is unfortunately the way of the world.
Yeah,
And I think
is.
the problem is a lot of people can't quite grasp that yet.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is... I think also...
I think some people are
what
fine
doesn't
with it.
help is a time of relative peace.
Yeah.
So, like, people who were born in, like, the eras of World War One and World War Two, they know that can't happen because, you know, at the age of 18, they were given a rifle and forced to watch their friends drown in their own blood.
Yeah.
So, you know, they kind of had to learn. Or if you were American, you know, in 1960, you know, and you had to
Boy,
listen to
my
trees speaking
fucking granddad
Vietnamese.
avoided being drafted in the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no.
Was he American?
Yeah, I'm American.
Are you?
Yeah, no, my granddad, he boasts about it. He's like, boy, when I was your age, I avoided being drafted. That's the proudest thing I've ever... It's just the funniest fucking thing. He's like, so proud of not going into the Vietnam War.
Did you know Britain almost won the Vietnam War 20 years before it started?
Really?
What happened was in 1946... I love how it's called the cult of current affairs. I'm talking about affairs that happened, you know, almost... We're getting on for like 80 years ago now, but who cares? It's a good show. Well, I think it's a good show.
I like it. So far, we've covered quite a lot of topics.
Yeah. You know, it's good. I think we're going to get some pretty decent bites out of this.
Yeah.
You know? So essentially what happened was in 1946, we were set because the area that's now Vietnam was still occupied by the Japanese at the end of the war. We hadn't pushed them out yet when the emperor surrendered. So what happened was the British were sent down there into what was officially French Indochina. This is when the French still ruled Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos. So we were sent down to disarm the Imperial Army.
Yeah.
So we took all their guns and occupied French Indochina until the French could come and relieve us. Because obviously, on account of them having been utterly destroyed by the Nazis and their military being in tatters and mostly comprising of French resistance members who had been conscripted and had no training, so their military's in a bit of a state. This was when the Viet Minh began to show up. They would later become the Viet Cong, but they were led by Ho Chi Minh. And essentially, they began their uprising because they saw that, okay, so the Japanese are gone, and the Japanese were really brutal.
Yeah.
They you want to talk about the atrocities of the British Empire? The Japanese took that to the extreme. But, so they saw it as their opportunity, basically. The French are weak, the Japanese are gone, all we've got is the British, and they're not expecting anything. So they cropped up. And because the people who were there were mainly Gurkhas, the Indian Rifles, these people had experience in fighting in the jungle.
Yeah.
They'd been fighting in the jungle for the entire of World War II, and also they were literally trained to fight in the jungle because that's where they were from. So they were fighting in Burma for the whole war. Then they were fighting in Vietnam, and they're experiencing colonial soldiery, which is different from regular warfare. because colonial soldiery requires knowledge of guerrilla warfare and guerrilla tactics and how to counter those. So we did really well. We lost, I think, 45 men. They lost just nearly 3,000.
Jesus fucking Christ.
We'd pushed them out of everywhere except, I think, the very north of Vietnam. Like, literally, like, just little pockets of resistance. And we asked the Americans, can we be resupplied? Can we be reinforced? Because, you know, we just got to do one little push and then they'll be out. Douglas MacArthur, who, by the way, was a piece of shit, right? He went overboard with his occupation of the Japanese mainland, and, you know, he's the reason the Vietnam War happened. He said, no, you're there to look after it until the French turn up. You're not there to stop uprisings. You're not reinforcing.
Fucked up in the ass later on, didn't it?
Yeah, and basically what he said was, you're not, you know, we're garrisoning West Germany right now. By the way, there wasn't severe resistance to the Allied occupation of Germany. There was Operation Werwolf, which was a Nazi policy, which was basically created to create like a Nazi fifth column terrorist group, but it didn't really take off. They killed at max like 20 people, all of them like semi-high ranking officers, but still they only killed like 20 people. They weren't a big problem for very long. They stopped existing in like 1947 as well.
Jesus, that was not very long.
No, it didn't last very long. But you have to remember that Hitler wasn't planning for Germany. Literally, it took for, I think...
Have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
I haven't yet.
Fuck, do you need to see it?
Yeah, I will have a look.
So you just mentioned Nazis and I was like, Jojo Rabbit.
But, like, literally, until I think... Basically, it was when the Soviets were knocking on the door of Berlin. Prior to that point, you were not allowed to say you were losing the war. You couldn't even mention the possibility of losing the war because Hitler was saying, no, I don't care we're getting pushed back. We're taking the Wehrmacht all the way to Moscow.
Yeah.
But we were almost at Moscow and, you know, we got demolished. Yeah, I don't care, we're going back. They weren't going back. They didn't go back. And, you know, but I digress again. So we'd pushed them back and we were told basically, no, you can't resupply. So what happened was the French were coming back. Now, the French soldiers that they were sending were untrained, basically. They were French resistance members that were conscripted after D-Day so that the French could very urgently draft up a military. Right, so these people weren't trained. And they definitely weren't trained in colonial soldiery.
Yeah.
And as they were average people, they were really kind of racist. And, like, not even in, like, an excusable. They were massive, like, for the time. I'm not saying racism is excusable, but for the time even, they were bad. Like, you want to look at, like, the Americans and Jimmy Crow? Worse.
Jesus.
Right? They were horrible to the
French
Vietnamese.
are historically quite a racist.
Yeah, everyone always talks about British atrocities and, like, even to extend Japanese atrocities.
Even now, though,
you actually...
France is still so racist.
Yeah, like, when the French want to get down, they will get down. I know we meme at them for surrendering that one time in World War II, but they will boogaloo.
Yeah.
And they will boogaloo hard. You know, you literally, like, they, unlike us, we fought like one war, maybe two, to keep our empire. They fought to the bitter end to keep theirs.
Yeah.
Right? But again, I digress. They were horrible to the Vietnamese, which increased support for the Viet Minh, later the Viet Cong. They also couldn't hold the places we had taken, so the Viet Cong, then again called the Viet Minh at the time, they took the mountains and the highlands, which would later become essential territory to winning the Vietnam War due to its usefulness in guerrilla warfare. So that is how a combination of the Americans and the French made the Vietnam War, one, happen in the first place, and two, last way longer than it should have done, and how the Brits, in all their amazing glory, almost stopped it in 1946 before it even happened.
That's a little history lesson for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We've gone over like 3 wars now, I swear to God.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Honestly, I shouldn't have called it the Cult of Current Events. I literally should have made a fucking history podcast.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
In summary,
Yeah.
that particular section, open borders don't work, in our humble opinion. That was a brief summary of the Yugoslav Civil War. We almost won the Vietnam War in 1946, and Brexit is coming to a county near you at 11 o'clock tonight. It's probably already happened if you're watching this, or listening to it, sorry. So yeah, the moment that I hope you've all been waiting for. Scoob's going to talk to us about,
Yeah.
the mental health crisis, how his experiences with that, and kind of what's happened to him recently.
All right, I'm gonna preface this by giving you my diagnosis, because I'm actually diagnosed. I'm not one of those kids who goes, "Yeah, nah, I've got bipolar. I'm a little moody sometime." I actually have a diagnosis, and that's
Gee, what? So you mean? Wait, hold on. So you mean to tell me that teenagers occasionally can experience mood swings,
yeah.
some of which are quite irrational?
Yeah,
Dude, that's fucking. Gee.
you wouldn't fucking believe it.
Yeah, I know.
No, but
Self-diagnosis is just it's a
Oh
pet peeve of mine.
my
as well.
god, there's this fucking Reddit page, or it was like an Instagram page and all that for self-diagnosis, and it was like, it was the fucking dumbest thing in the world. They were like, I don't know. I understand in America where you're like, I literally can't afford a diagnosis. Like,
Yeah, that's kind of understandable, but at the same time, you should probably say, "I believe I am bipolar."
Yeah,
You shouldn't go around saying it's fact.
yeah, I don't know. There is a, and also I will be honest though, there is a thing that teenagers literally can't get diagnosed.
Yeah,
They can't. That's the problem. When I was in the institution, there are these kids going around, right?
yeah.
Like fucked up. All right, they're really sweet kids, but like they're fucked up, and it's like they can't get diagnosed, and that's somewhat of a problem, I guess. But
Was that
also,
a case of just like reluctance? Like they're
no,
reluctant
because it's
to
like you're a
diagnose?
teenager, your brain isn't fully developed.
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, because they're young,
Yeah,
it's difficult to start. If they do actually have that issue, or if that's just like a hormonal thing.
yeah. It took me 3 years to get diagnosed.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's literally, they had to diagnose me before I was let out. I'm not like insane. Well, I am, but I'm not like dangerous.
Yeah, you're not dangerous.
I
We're
have
alone
this,
in a room.
yeah, I have I have a thing called schizoaffective disorder, and it's like it's not known. I will speak to the microphone. Yeah, no, I have a thing called schizoaffective disorder, and it's basically bipolar disorder and schizophrenia mixed together.
Damn.
So it's quite the
That sounds like quite the combo.
yeah, it's a fucking combination and a multiple of other shit that I'm not gonna get into, but like it's schizoaffective disorder, and at the moment there isn't enough awareness for schizoaffective disorder, I think, personally, or schizophrenia, really. I mean,
Yeah.
the shit about bipolar, there's like a good, there's not enough, but there's still a good amount of awareness. But schizoaffective and schizophrenia,
To be fair, I wasn't, as a kid, I was, I knew about like depression, I knew about anxiety, and I knew about schizophrenia. But schizophrenia was always presented to me, and I always just accepted it as fact that schizophrenia was really, really uncommon.
yeah,
And the likelihood of you actually meeting someone with schizophrenia, you're probably going to meet like one, maybe
Yeah.
two in your life. But I know quite a few people who have schizophrenia.
yeah.
It seems to be way more common than I thought it was.
It's still rare, but you will.
Yeah, and for schizophrenia is like, as far as mental illnesses go, it's one of the worst out there.
Yeah, dude,
It's pretty awful.
the shit that I've seen. I'm writing a book about it because of how crazy it is at the moment.
Yeah.
Like the amount of shit that I've gotten myself into because I have delusions and hallucinations is just insane.
But I suppose also a good thing is you're not one of these people who is like, I've been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, therefore I'm not accountable. Therefore I do not need to
No,
improve
I totally
ever.
believe I'm accountable.
Yeah, of course.
Like if I fuck someone over in a manic episode, like that's on me.
yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, yeah, fuck, that was my mania, like fucking around. Like I've fucked the good people over in a manic episode.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeesh.
Yeah, no, not great, but no, but I was sectioned recently. Well, recently, I mean like 4 months ago, and that's so everyone who goes to our school or knows us and just knows that I haven't been at school lately. I was sectioned, which is super fun. Trust me.
I heard nothing about until you came up to me, spoke about the podcast, and said you wanted to come on and talk about this.
Yeah.
I had no idea, none whatsoever. I didn't even. This sounds bad, but I didn't notice you weren't in school.
Yeah, no, I try to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah.
It was quite a private thing. It was
Well, of course, yeah.
it was
it
pretty
is.
traumatizing, not gonna lie. When you're locked in a room, in a white room, and they come in, they go, by the way, we're sending you off to I'm not gonna say where it is, but we're sending you off to this place because it's a government facility.
All
Like,
right.
we're sending you off to this place, and you're just gonna be there for 3 months straight. I wasn't allowed outside for the first month.
Oh yeah.
I was literally locked inside.
What? Because of the stimulus, they thought it might make it worse, or
Yeah, I don't know, but I know this one girl, my best friend, by the way. You know who you are if you're listening. But I mean, she's allowed outside, but she's been locked up there for 8 months now.
wow, and she's still there.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I know, but
So-
like,
I obviously I want to get on to like mental health and stuff, but like, what is life like in an instant? Do you have access to the internet? Are
yeah, we
you-
have access to the internet,
Okay.
but so you can message people, but you have access to the internet if you're not like gonna do shit with it.
All right. So people who like say, hypothetically, people who are in there because they're like, let's say if like you're like a can you get sectioned if you're a paedophile?
No, you get
No.
arrested. But if you're like, let's
Well,
say,
no, I mean as in, like if you do anything wrong, I guess.
yeah, if you break the law,
But I mean, is it like
Yeah.
if you're a paedophile and you want to get help, is that something that can happen, or is that just like is that a different kind of thing?
I have no idea. I don't know any
You never,
pedos
you never
in
met
there.
anyone in there. So
No, any
or like
pedos.
say people who.
I knew people who had got the internet taken away from them because they were dangerous.
Oh, okay.
I knew there's this one girl who was extremely dangerous. She wasn't like horror. She wasn't like gonna kill you, but to herself, she was really dangerous.
Right.
And she had these breakdowns, and she had her phone taken away, and she wasn't allowed internet for 2 months.
What, because like she was seeing things and those were causing breakdowns, or just because?
Well, I just don't think they trusted her with it. You know, she
Right.
could really search up some bad shit.
So it's in like ways to kill herself.
Yeah, or
Within
just
the institute.
Yeah,
Right.
just stuff like that.
Like, I've got a friend of mine, who I play Warhammer with,
Yeah,
and he's a mental health nurse,
yeah.
and you know some of the things he's talking about is in like there's you know there are. So, for example, a lot of mental health institutes actually, some of them are actually dedicated almost to this. Is that a lot of people who are in there for terrorism.
Really?
Yeah, it's really common actually.
Shit, no. I know a few people who ran away from the law and broke shit, like broke laws and stuff. But I never knew anyone who was a terrorist.
So maybe like maybe that was because your institute was a specific young person's institute.
It was a young person's institute.
That might explain it a little.
It was
bit.
quite. It was. I'm not gonna lie, but it was quite nice.
Well, cool.
Well, it was. I mean, it was shit.
Yeah,
The
of
fact
course.
that I was locked up.
Well,
but like,
It,
there's
I suppose it's
organisation.
just because by virtue of what it is, isn't it? Like relative, like if you compare it to other asylums, it's probably quite nice.
Oh
But
yeah,
simply
holy shit.
by virtue of it being a mental institution, it's going to be a not very nice place.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. There's like I'll tell you one one great thing that I learned from there is that you've got to have a routine.
Yeah.
To do well, you've got to have a routine.
Yeah.
Because there's this thing there is that you wake up and they wake you up. You go to community meeting. You say what your goal is, what your positive is, and then you go to school. They have a school there.
Oh yeah.
So they have a school there for you, and then you have all
So,
the
like, Sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
could you like continue your A levels while you were in there?
barely. I have to
Barely,
drop
okay.
2 subjects because and I have to do an extra year. But like
Sucks.
it does suck. But like
But at least you get a second chance. Like you can
Mhm.
repeat them. I mean, if you're someone who'd already repeated the year, then obviously that'd be a
yeah,
bit.
and I get extra marks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because we had mocks the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't focus. I'm pretty sure it showed on my Instagram story, but I was quite rapid in
Yeah.
thinking. And there was and I'm still I'm calming down now because I'm on a thing called promethazine.
Yeah.
So my heartbeat is a little slower and my mind is at ease a little bit more.
I can imagine it's just like adjusting, isn't it, to new medication? You're always
Yeah.
gonna be a bit.
Yeah, no. This promethazine is just like a thing to calm down when you're manic.
All right.
I'll tell you what the shit is though. I'll tell you what the shit is. Lorazepam.
You're saying about
Anyone who has fucking had lorazepam might know what I'm speaking about. But it's a benzodrine. Do you know what that is?
that. Benzodrine is in like a benzo, or
Benzo.
yeah.
It's like illegal benzo.
Right.
And so it just like fucking tranquilizes your body.
I see.
It's so good. Yeah, anyway, back to the mental health thing. What else do you want to ask? Any questions about the place or anything?
Well, I suppose like so. What kind of people were there?
Well, it is girls. I was
Really?
every time I was there, I was one of the two boys. And I was the oldest one there as well.
Wow.
But it's all girls. And let me tell you one thing that is a crisis at the moment that I learned from there is that eating disorders.
Yeah.
Holy shit, are eating disorders a crisis?
Was it both? So obviously there's eating disorders where you eat too much, but there's also ones where you eat too little. Were
It's
both
too
of them
little.
there?
It's
Or
more
just too little. Yeah.
But like every girl there, every girl who had something else, but they all had eating disorders. I met one girl there out of like 20 of them who didn't have an eating disorder.
Wow. Well, I can imagine that's I can imagine that eating disorders are supposed to like a big crisis in a case of like obviously someone who's starving themselves,
Yeah.
who's like pathologically starving themselves, that needs quite urgent intervention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jesus. I mean, I don't want to go into detail with who it is, but like, I met one of them, and she was the bone skin. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was. I mean, one of my best friends, but some of them are just. It's really tragic. It is tragic, and it's just. And I learned after I got out of there, a lot of people that I knew, a lot of girls, had eating disorders. Like after I could talk about it openly. And a lot of people we know that you don't know about have eating disorders. It's really fucking terrible.
It is. It's just. So what do you think it is? Because obviously, in the past, there's been a stigma around mental health.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it wasn't so talked about. But also, I'm sure you'll agree, it probably wasn't as common. Simply the prevalence of mental health.
I think.
Obviously, there are exceptions for, like shell shock and things like that.
I have that as I feel what you feel because there are certain disorders that have skyrocketed recently.
Yeah.
And there are certain, I think schizoaffective or schizophrenia hasn't skyrocketed, but really, let's be honest with it, I never met anyone else there who was a schizo other than me. And then but I'd say depression, anxiety disorders, full stop, or eating disorders have definitely skyrocketed. And I don't want to like blame social media because I don't want to be like one of the guys who's like fuck social media.
But at the same time, it
kind of is.
It kind of, because I mean, I don't obviously you can't just blame Facebook for everything. But at the same time, or like Instagram or anything. But at the same time, when you've got a media platform where realistically the only stimulus you're exposed to, say from people you look up to,
it's a heightened reality.
Yeah, it's a heightened reality. It's very tailored, and a lot of people you're seeing there who are living their best life on there.
Yeah.
The only people who you don't see living their best life are your friends, and your friends are the people who they can't they're not the skinniest people in the world. They're not like these model material people.
And I'll admit,
most of the time,
there's another thing with the whole heightened reality is this constant partying and drugs, and I was totally affected by that. And there was a time in my life where was I just smoking weed a lot and going to parties a lot and all that.
Yeah.
And that was probably due to the fact that there was this kind of like image that I had to.
Yeah.
And that kind of fucked up my health.
Because I do remember you being kind of like seen as, you were the party guy.
Yeah.
You were the guy to see at parties.
Yeah, I've been sober for 4 months now.
Wow.
But like, it's just like there's this thing that I had an image that I had to maintain, and I now realize that's like one of the key factors other than genetics that led to my mental health worsening.
Oh, so it is genetic with you. So does your family have a history of?
They don't. I don't know if they have a history, but like I've realized I've had hallucinations since I was 8.
Right.
So I'm not blaming it on like weed. I'm blaming it like worsening on weed.
Yeah.
Weed definitely worsens your mental health.
Yeah.
And I used to be one of those guys who was like, oh, weed, fuck, like that it can't do anything wrong to you. It's a fucking plant.
That is the issue. I think that's also a big problem, is that at its core, right, people have come to the conclusion that because weed is not as bad as alcohol, which to be fair, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
Therefore it's good. That's not how things work.
Yeah. I mean, I was smoking every day basically for 2 years straight.
And people act as if that's a healthy habit. A lot of people, anyway, and it's becoming more common as like a narrative that it's kind of healthy to do things like that. But I mean, drinking not every day is not normal.
Drinking every day isn't normal.
No.
You'd be called an alcoholic, but then suddenly seen as smoking weed every day is seen as like as almost a personality trait.
Yeah, like and also like, the problem is smoking weed regular, and like every single person I've ever spoken to about it, with the exception of 2 people out of the several I know who smoke weed regularly,
Yeah.
every single one of them has said, yeah, I'm not as productive. I get really lazy. These
Yeah.
are also the people who typically, find themselves out of school a lot.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. You know how
It
much
does
I was
ruin
skipping
your
school a lot
productivity.
when I was high all the time, mainly to get high.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna be like fucking drugs suck. They're amazing. Drugs are amazing to take. That's the reason why school says that they're not cool to take is because they're cool. it's because they're cool and they're fun. But they're so unhealthy.
I think the problem with drugs, in the same way like an issue with drink, however, as a society, because we've had it for so long, we've adapted to dealing with it, is that people don't know how to moderate, especially British people. There's a reason why they say nobody takes drugs quite like the British. We have the highest average dose in Europe
Jesus
for almost
Christ.
everything. The highest per capita consumption of cocaine in the world is in Scotland.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, that it's just okay. Maybe it's just an issue with British people, but we don't know how to moderate with drugs, which is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah,
It's a problem.
I agree.
Is that I guess it might just be human nature, or it might just be an issue with us as people, or maybe just we haven't had them long enough yet to adjust to them. But the likelihood of you obviously, if you smoke weed, the likelihood of you transitioning into a heroin addict, isn't high. But at the same time, what they say is true.
Oh,
But
let's be honest,
heroin addicts do start on weed. Everyone
yeah,
starts on
no,
weed.
let's be honest. As much as we say that it's not a gateway drug,
Kind of
it's a
is.
gateway drug.
Yeah, and like even beyond that, if someone who tries like a little bit of Mandy, someone who like does
Yeah.
maybe does a bit of LSD, then you start getting into a bit of a spiral.
Yeah.
Then you get into like this is why we can't have nice things, because I'm 16 and I tried LSD. Now I'm 24 and I'm addicted to heroin. Now that's not categorically, that is not the majority of people who try LSD will go on to do heroin.
No.
However,
no. There's still a
say for
likelihood.
example, if you drink alcohol, now up until when will we say drug culture came around, like the early 60s.
Early 60s,
We'll say that's when drugs mainly became, obviously there was opium in like the Victorian era, but
it's not
that's
on the
like,
same scale.
It's not on the same scale. It wasn't as readily available. If you didn't live in London, you weren't getting it. But so like obviously if you drank alcohol, there was nothing for you to progress to. You progressed into alcoholism,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say this now: alcoholism is nowhere near heroin addiction or crack addiction.
No.
It's categorically not.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously now you have a market. You have an economy of drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you've got massive market choices, and it's even got to the extent where, like, so for example, the deep web, which is like the saving grace of teenage drug dealers everywhere.
Oh my fucking god, is it the saving grace?
It's people talk about it as if it's like Amazon for drugs, and it is. It is Amazon. If you have a deep web market, think of a drug. There are some drugs on there you didn't know existed.
Yeah, that's so true.
You will need to Google them and find out what they are. You can find them of varying qualities, varying origins, varying. For cannabis, there's countless amounts of strains.
Oh my
you
god,
can
there
find
is.
anything you want on there.
It's an Amazon.
Yeah, it is. It's Amazon for drugs.
It's the new big company for teenagers.
Yeah, precisely. And, that is leading to where you've got so much more stuff to progress to, which obviously creates an issue. It creates an issue where, people are very open to, because the problem is when you find addictive substances, and you've got a full range of addictive substances where there is something for everyone,
Yeah.
unless you're simply someone who doesn't like being intoxicated in the slightest, which is a very small amount of people,
Yeah.
then you're going to find yourself having a bad time
Yeah.
eventually. If you're someone who has an addictive personality, which is more humans than we'd like to admit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. There's addictive. I have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Like, I'll admit it. A lot of people do, but they just deny it.
Yeah.
It's seen as a pussy thing.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just, yeah, that's why we can't have nice things where drugs are concerned.
I agree.
Categorically, taking drugs once or twice, it's not a bad thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's honestly.
Unless obviously there are exceptions like meth and things like that.
Yeah.
They can do some bad shit with just one hit.
Drugs can be an eye-opening experience.
They can. Yeah, they can be a positive. Like for example, MDMA has the potential to.
It helps borderline personality disorder
And PTSD.
And
The
PTSD.
Americans of all people have now begun trialing MDMA. So,
I know.
so soon the market rate of MDMA is going to go up to like $100 a gram.
Yeah, I know.
It's going to be packaged and it's going to be really expensive. But it has potential to do that. Like, I think it's psilocybin has the potential to repair brain tissue.
No, CBD is an antipsychotic.
Is it?
Yeah, you can use it as an antipsychotic.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that's why there's certain weed strains that are good for schizophrenics.
Huh.
But the thing is, are you going to find those?
Yeah, that is the issue in that in an unregulated black market.
Yeah, no, weed at the moment is insanely strong.
Yeah, it's like there was I think I'm not sure if it's called like something cringe like Stoner Weekly, but there was a Stoner magazine in the US, right? And they did a list of the top 10 strains of the year in like 1972.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, that looks like Christmas tree. That looks like that weed looks like the branch of a Christmas tree. That doesn't look like weed.
Yeah.
It's so different. It's like how like if you look at like if you learn in like biology, you did biology, right? Like
yeah,
GCSE.
I did, yeah.
They show you like wheat, how it used to look like fucking 3,000 years ago or something.
Yeah,
And you see wheat now. It's literally like that level of difference. It's so much stronger. It's like if you there's obviously like, because haha weed funny weed culture, right, is popular now. You can see like loads of like videos of old people talking about it, or like things like that, where they talk about how weed is so much stronger now.
Yeah.
Like even if you like watch something like the Joe Rogan Experience, right?
Yeah.
Like I think he had like Ryan Sickler on there, and they were talking about how different weed was, and it was like
No, there's like scientific things where they test it. There's so much more THC in it.
Yeah.
It is borderline dangerous. Skunk. Have you ever had skunk?
I've never smoked weed.
Oh god, skunk fucking kicks you out.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Yeah, no, but there's definitely a danger. There's definitely a danger. I'm trying to get. There's this girl that I know. You know who you are if you're listening again. And I'm warning you again, all right? Because she's like a little sister to me. But I met her in the ward, and she wants to smoke weed, but I swear to God, I'm never selling her any weed because I'm like, I don't want you to end up like me.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm smoking weed, maybe at the age of 21, is okay.
Yeah, categorically, as a minor, you should not be smoking. Don't get me wrong,
I started smoking when I was 13, 14.
Yeah.
Fuck me up.
I acknowledge that it is something that is bound to happen. It's like teenage drinking.
That's what I said to her.
It's something that will happen,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't. I don't know, once or twice, obviously, it's not going to cause. If you're just a teenager doing some experimentation, that's not going to cause you any long-term damage. Here's the problem: your brain is still developing.
Yeah.
You cannot be putting mind-altering substances into your brain, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Even with anything.
But the thing is, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, but it really shouldn't. And if you're going to do it, you should at least limit it. You shouldn't be like
That's
a
what I
lot
said
of
to
the
her.
kids on the estate where I grew up. You shouldn't be 15 and smoking a joint every day. That is categorically not normal. It's absolutely going to affect your development.
Yeah, it does.
That's objectively true. And you can point to a million Cheech and Chong posts that say it doesn't. You can share all those articles from like Stoner Daily. It doesn't make a difference. It's categorically true.
Yeah. That's what I always say to her. I always do say to her, I'm always like, I know you're going to do it. I did it. Everyone does it. Almost everyone tries out experiments with drugs. But I just want you to know, not healthy.
Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you what one of the big issues was, I think, is that I like to think that kids are more intellectual now than they used to be. They can call bullshit. And the stuff that used to work with drugs, quote-unquote, education, like way back in the 80s, it doesn't work now.
Yeah.
It is not going to work. The kids are going to go off. They're going to either talk to people who
do drugs. It barely worked then either.
Yeah, it barely worked then, obviously, because you had like a heroin epidemic in the 90s.
Yeah.
But So for example, when you remember when I think it's St. Matthew's came into the school and did like a drug assembly.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God, was that
that was full of
fucking
cringe.
miserable?
Right. Here's the problem: you cannot go into schools and say weed gives you schizophrenia, and then not only say it gives you schizophrenia as like the line, you also then say some people say it doesn't give you schizophrenia, it just makes it worse. That's not true. That is true. You can't keep lying to people. They will call bullshit.
Yeah.
And the problem with them calling bullshit on one thing is they immediately assume the stance that, well, they've lied about weed. What's to say they're lying about LSD? What's to say they're lying about MDMA?
Yeah.
What's to say they're lying about heroin?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Which gets into that issue. So, for example, when St. Matthew's came in, and obviously
When someone else-
LSD makes you do funny things, right? It makes you see funny things. It makes you do weird shit.
Yeah.
But there are some things it definitely doesn't make you do. And one of the things they were claiming was that they had a boy come to them who had taken a bunch of LSD. He thought that Bart Simpson was running after him and trying to rape
I
him.
remember that.
So he ran. Where he ran
Ran,
like from
10 miles.
Yeah, he ran like 10 miles. No, he didn't. LSD doesn't make you see Bart Simpson trying to rape you. LSD makes your walls start looking funny. At most, you will see people that aren't there. That's uncommon, by the way.
Yeah.
People think that LSD is something that like the movies make it out to be, which is like it makes you see just objects that aren't there.
It's an
No, it
out
doesn't.
body experience.
Yeah, it's an out-of-body experience. It makes light move. It makes things like twirl and be different colors. It doesn't like transport you into the depths of hell.
Some people say though that it has on the rare occasion.
Yeah, that's a really rare. That's like if you like do loads.
Yeah.
You do lots.
Just don't do much, and it's probably okay
I mean,
at the appropriate age.
yeah, if you're at the appropriate age, you're a consenting adult, and you haven't got an addictive personality, and you know how to moderate yourself.
Yeah, always know how to
Still don't
moderate
do
yourself.
LSD. I'm not going to go around here telling you to do LSD. That's not something I should do. It's not something anyone should do. But if you want to try that, that's your thing.
Yeah.
But just know to be moderate, and know that LSD doesn't make Bart Simpson try and rape you.
Yeah.
That's a good summary for that.
Bart
Simpson won't rape you if you do LSD.
Yeah, no, have you ever had derealization?
Sorry, say that again.
Derealization.
Derealization. Is that like an ego death?
Imagine going on an acid trip. Well, I don't even know. I don't know if it was This is what I used to have, like, regularly.
Right.
But going on an acid trip without ever taking acid.
Ah, I see. Right, okay.
Unconsensually.
Oh, okay, so this is like a schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I just want to go on, but, like, holy shit. I mean, motherfucker, was it a trip. Imagine, literally, you know those bad LSD trips you were saying?
Oh, yeah?
Imagine that without ever taking it.
Right, okay.
And then just without any warning, without anything, you're just sitting in school and all of a sudden you're tripping fucking balls.
Wow.
It's terrifying.
Do you mind if I ask, what was the specific incident that led to the police picking you up and then obviously saying you're going to be sectioned?
I won't go into the full incident, but I was very delusional.
Right.
I was manic and delusional, which don't go well together. I was hallucinating. I had a conspiracy. This one delusion was making me want to kill myself.
Right.
Because I believed there were some things going on in the world that if I killed myself, it would all be good with.
Right.
So I tried to kill myself. I tried to do some stuff in front of some people. I tried to kill myself in front of some people.
Right.
And so then I was taken to A&E. Yeah. And then I was put there. And then they were like, you're so suicidal that we're going to have to take you in.
Right.
So I've been to A&E 3 times that week
Okay.
for delusions.
Right.
But it was when it got suicidal. That's when I was sectioned.
Okay. So to be clear, the delusion you developed was there was a certain thing going on in the world
Yeah.
that your death would prevent.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but for everyone.
But the thing is, it was like the epitome of my delusions. So
okay.
I've been
So
having
at their peak, you believed that like you were the focus of like a conspiracy, kind of.
basically for years. For years, I've been having these hallucinations of some certain people, and I still have them. and they're these people, and basically, I connected some dots between all these other different delusions that I had had.
Right.
And then it all came together, and I came up with this big conspiracy of how they all connected and how I wasn't insane.
Oh, okay.
And then basically I had to try and kill myself to get rid of it.
Oh, what? So then to end it for yourself, you had to get rid of it.
I had to save the world.
Ah,
to an
okay.
extent.
Right. Okay. I see.
And yeah, it was really, I was discussing this with some. It was originally diagnosed as psychosis. Do you know?
Right.
Do you know what that is?
Roughly.
Roughly. It was originally diagnosed as psychosis when I wasn't fully diagnosed.
Actually, tell you what. For me, in terms of when I think of them, schizophrenia and psychosis are kind of synonymous. Could you explain the difference between them?
So psychosis. The difference. One, psychosis can be. I'm trying to think. There is a difference. Schizophrenic is more of a chronic illness.
Right.
Psychosis is more of a episodic.
Oh, okay, so psychosis can come and go, but schizophrenia will always be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
To an extent. I don't know if I'm fully explaining that well, but like it's kind of
Like in layman's terms.
Schizophrenia is more chronic.
Right.
So I have, if I really thought about it, and I'm kind of hallucinating right now. I'm just trying to like think at the moment. It's really bad.
Yeah.
But so talking about it does kind of trigger it, but I want to talk about it because it's like it's a good thing because I want to break the stigma.
We can take a break if you want.
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's good. I'm just seeing some weird shit
Right
now. It's kind of funny. I'm trying like not to be distracted and be like, "Hey, could you stop that?" But I'm not dangerous or anything.
Oh no, I categorically don't think you're dangerous. Don't worry.
What else do you want to talk about though, other than that?
Okay.
Any other
So
questions?
so what? So kind of how does it manifest? Obviously, I don't want to trigger you to.
No, it's all good. I don't really mind triggering. The only thing triggering is talking about the exact specifics of the episode that led me in there.
Okay, so what typically do you see? Do you see people that aren't there?
I have
And if so, what
imaginary
do they look
people
like,
that have been haunting me since I was 13.
Right.
I had originally I didn't think it was a delusion. They disappeared for a while. They came back. They want to possess me. I borders on DID. Do you know what that is?
No.
So it's multiple personality disorder.
Okay.
And at the moment, my therapist and I are talking about DID. So I have this thing where these, I know I just literally just pointed to a wall, but he's there. But basically, they want to possess me, and sometimes when I get too stressed, these hallucinations that I have possess me. So I was in the exam hall the other day, and these hallucinations kept going, "Hey, Davey, come on, let me get in and try it out."
Right.
It was like really fucking weird, and I kept trying not to speak to them because I knew they aren't real.
So during these episodes where they do possess you, to coin the term, do you assume their personality?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I have this one, and I'm gonna speak about him on fucking live, just so I can get him out of the fucking room. But he's called Consciousness.
Right.
I sound insane. I know I sound insane.
Obviously, people listening know you suffer from a mental health issue, and this is, for me, this is quite insightful.
Yeah.
I've never had a discussion in which it is discussed in terms of what life is like.
Yeah. Well, there's this guy called Consciousness, and have you ever seen Fight Club?
I have.
You know Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Tyler Durden.
Right.
He's homophobic. He's very masculine. He's homophobic because I found out the other day, when he possessed me while I was in a gay club.
So you're in a gay club, and out of nowhere you just like start saying,
I
hate faggots.
I started having an episode, and I was like, I need to leave, and I walked out with my friend, and then I was like, I fucking hate those faggots. God damn it, I hate gays, and I was like, and it took me a while, and I was like, yeah, sorry, I just got possessed.
Right. Okay. So like, so when you see the people, So, for example, the person who you're saying right now,
Yeah.
does he look exactly like? Well, I say not exactly like me in December, but as in, like, does he look like a real person?
He's like a mix between a real person and a ghost. So I can tell he isn't there because he's
Okay.
kind of
He's
translucent.
translucent.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But he's still. I have that, and I have Scoob. I have Toby. I have consciousness, and I have future self.
Right.
They're all
Are these
hallucinations.
names they've given themselves or names you've given them?
I can't remember. I gave
Oh, okay.
Scoob his name.
Okay.
That's why I call myself Scoob, is because he inspired me to write and stuff and
Alright.
do all the stuff. So I just called myself him.
So are all of these people, these like personalities, are they all negative or are some of them positive influences?
Some of them are positive. Future self is positive. Consciousness is now positive. He wasn't positive. I would like to clear this up before I say anything. Schizophrenia is not multiple personality disorder.
Right.
There's a difference.
So multiple personality disorder is where. So I'm trying to tell the difference here. So with MPD, can you not distinguish when you're transitioning between personalities? Can you not recognize they exist, or?
You can recognize they exist, but you don't. With schizophrenia, you don't have multiple personalities.
Right.
There's a big misconception. I know I sound like I'm schizophrenic. I'm like the typical schizophrenic, but I just have a undiagnosed dissociative thing that we're trying to figure out at the moment what it is. It's like an unspecified dissociative identity disorder or identity disorder, which it gets in the way of my life. But like no, schizophrenia. I just want to clear up for people who are like, wow, he has multiple personalities. What, a schizophrenic? That's not what the symptoms of schizophrenia are.
Right.
I have multiple different disorders. I'm speaking now into the mic.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Yeah, no, but no, it's kind of a living hell.
Well, I can imagine.
It's kind of a living hell because there are times where I've thought I was God. There's times that I've believed the government is watching me and spying on me.
Yeah.
That I can't leave the house.
Which are quite common, aren't they? Like, so,
Yeah.
so for example, I have
The
a friend
God
who
delusion.
lives. Yeah, the God delusion. I have a friend who lives in North Dakota,
Yeah.
and he's had a terrible life, right? He ended up getting convinced. Like, I think he was like manipulated by some people, but he did a lot of drugs, and he was like 14. Like
Yeah.
LSD,
Yeah,
fried
yeah.
his brain on LSD.
Yeah.
He ended up getting arrested for something. I forget what it was. I don't think it was like a very high level crime. And his girlfriend, while he was in prison, told him that she had aborted his child.
Jesus Christ.
Like, literally said, "I don't love you, and I just killed your child." Kind
Yeah.
of. Because obviously, regardless of how you feel about that, to a lot of people who get told that their girlfriend's just aborted their child,
It's a traumatic experience.
Yeah, it's like it's basically equivalent to them kind of like killing your child, basically. To people who feel that way. But so he had developed this delusion, and he, to an extent, he still believes it, that in 2007, he became God and ushered in the end of days. He destroyed the universe. This universe we're living in is the second is the continuing iteration of the universe he destroyed.
Yeah.
And he described it to me, and I was kind of like, originally I thought he was fucking with me, right? I thought, he's just like messing around, he's pretending to be crazy. No. He believes this, and he described in great detail this like prophecy kind of about how the Earth was slowly being dominated by a fungus. Like, is it not like a fungus how we know, but as in like a hive mind kind of that's slowly hijacking people. And essentially what happened was the world got to a point where this hive mind had taken control of the world. He had to battle the hive mind. And in his words, he climbed a mountain of skulls, walked through the black sun, became God, and destroyed the world.
Yeah. But you can't disprove these things. That's the scary bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't disprove it, especially if you like, as him, like, he can't disprove that he destroyed another universe.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, my uncle, he once taught a woman how to drive who had severe schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And during her first, he was open to it, right? He was open to teaching her how to drive. He later said he couldn't do it. Like, he couldn't do it, and he actually said, "You shouldn't drive. Please do not drive a vehicle." But during the first lesson, she literally said to him, "By the way, just so you know, I am being harassed and targeted via radio waves, and the police are aware." And he was like, Originally, he like kind of thought, oh, she might be a bit mental, but he thought, well, if the police are aware, she said the police are aware, maybe she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And even when the radio was off, this woman would start like shouting at the radio, telling it to shut up.
Yeah.
And he was like, "There's nothing happening." And he he's a good driving instructor,
Yeah.
a good teacher. He managed to calm her down a lot of the time. But also she did things that were objectively dangerous.
Yeah.
On the road. So for example, he would be looking at her driving, like looking at where she's going on the road, and he would turn to her and notice that she's got her head 90 degrees to the steering wheel. She's looking out of the passenger or driver window, just observing the view.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No.
And this isn't like literally just looking at it for a little bit because, although you're not really supposed to do that, that's kind of safe. If you're driving, you literally look out the window for like a couple seconds. No. A good solid 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Longer even, staring out the window.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And it's after a couple, like literally, he's like, please don't I beg of you, do not do that. And she kept doing it. And she was like, I can't control myself. And he's like, well, I'm afraid I can't do this anymore. Because not only you risk yourself, but getting in a car with you is dangerous to my life. I have a wife and children. I cannot be killed because I'm teaching you how to drive. So, one, I would suggest never learning how to drive, and secondly, I can't teach you how to drive anymore. So,
yeah,
that. Yeah, which I can imagine, feeds into how difficult being schizophrenic can be.
Yeah,
because obviously there's varying degrees of any mental disorder.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you're getting to the point where you can never learn how to drive, you can never do certain things.
Yeah.
That obviously
it's debilitating.
Yeah.
It is. It's a bit shit. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is. Yeah.
Also, for years on end, my parents just thought I was playing up.
Right.
So I was like, I just time traveled. When I'm saying this when I'm 15.
Yeah.
I'm saying, by the way, I have a future self who keeps telling me stuff. And they'd be like, "Oh, you're just a creative kid." Or when I was having a manic episode, so I'm the bipolar part. They were like, "Oh, he's just an emotional kid. He's just getting worked up."
Yeah.
And it's just this thing that was really struggling with an undiagnosed disorder.
I can imagine that's quite difficult for parents, though, in that obviously teenagers can normally get to levels where people would see it as quite worrying, right?
Yeah.
So for example, now it's bad, but it's almost become a cultural phenomenon, kind of kids just wanting to die.
It is.
It's like,
mental health, not mental illness, has no stigma now.
Yeah. And, depending on who you ask, that can actually work in the opposite way, and that it can also become a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like self-diagnosis and things like that. But, for example, like, if I was to legit go into the study hall, say, and shout, "I want to die,"
everyone would probably laugh.
They'd probably laugh. They'd probably go, "Dude, same." And the problem is, probably only like 10% of those are joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is worrying. Obviously, suicidal thoughts aren't new in humanity. They're not, and they're not new in teenagers either. The prevalence and the strength of them I think is new.
Oh yeah, definitely. There is definitely a rise. Like I think it's 1 in 4 people. 1 in 4 people will suffer from a mental health crisis in this year.
It's just, it's odd. So, what do you think? And just. So, what do you think is like causing that? What do you think is causing mental health to become more prevalent? Mental health issues become more prevalent than they were, say 50 years ago.
I don't want to. There's like so many things to blame. There's probably the stresses are getting a lot harder for teenagers with schoolwork.
Yeah.
I think that's been going on. I think stresses on being judged on social media and living life on social media that's hyper real. And I think, and this is just to go into the self-diagnosis kind of rise, is the romanticization of it in fiction.
That is true.
There's a romance...
Like shit like American Horror Story?
Shit like American Horror Story. And 13 Reasons Why. I've never watched it, but I know that it definitely romanticizes it.
I've seen clips, and it's just... It's not... You shouldn't fantasize... Well,
fetishize it, really.
You shouldn't fetishize being raped.
Yeah.
You shouldn't fetishize being raped and then killing yourself because you were raped.
Yeah, it's not a healthy, romantic, or idolized thing to do. It's a fucking tragedy. It's a genuine problem. You know, if you're gonna represent mental health in the media, do it in a way that doesn't make it look fucking cool.
Yeah.
Don't make it in a way that looks like it's the butt end of a joke either. Represent it in a realistic manner.
It's like I think a good example, and this isn't mental health, this is drug addiction, but a good representation of the reality of things. Have you ever seen Requiem for a Dream?
I've never seen it. I always need to.
Right, so obviously in media, drug addicts are portrayed as being kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they've got bad circumstances, but like this, like, so like for example, if like in like a coming of age movie, a drug addict like has like this role of being like an old soothsayer of like.
Have you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Of course I have.
With
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what, did you blow him away or something? Like,
Yeah.
He's like a really cool dude. He ends up making out with that girl from Dirty Dancing. But here's the problem. That's not how it's like. So like in Requiem for a Dream, things don't end good for the protagonist. One of them gets black arm, he has to have it cut off, and like I think the last scene is him like crying in his hospital bed because he's done heroin and ruined his life.
Yeah.
And like that, I'm not saying that movies shouldn't be it's all doom and gloom if you have a mental health issue.
No, there is a great movie for that.
What?
It's Silver Linings Playbook. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't.
It's about this bipolar guy who's let out of being a patient in a psychiatric ward.
Right.
It's a positive but accurate portrayal.
Right.
And you need that kind of shit. You need
Yeah.
positive that it can get better, but you can't do it to the extent of it's positive. It's almost a personality quirk.
Yeah. It's like you have something terrible happening to you. You can get better. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, mental illness is so like cool. And, you know, Tate from American Horror Story has homicidal ideation, so that's really cool as well. No, that's not. That's not something you should be doing.
I'm not judging you if you have homicidal ideation.
No, of course not.
I've definitely met now a lot of people who do have it, but at the same time, it's not a thing to be romanticized.
No, it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah,
I think once you really drill it into people's heads that people die because of these things.
Yeah,
people die. People die.
The
Families
whole
are
fucking
ruined.
school shooter, like seen in American Horror Story.
I loved that as a kid, when I was like 13 and I first watched American Horror Story. I was like, oh, he looks so cool. Like, it's almost as if I wasn't comprehending the fact that he was like murdering a bunch of people.
Because he looks cool in it.
And also the fact that how they portrayed it was he broke into the library and he killed all the popular kids.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
And there are all these bits where he goes like,
you really couldn't fucking make a school shooting look any better, could you?
No, and also the whole like soundtrack to him walking in with all the skull painting on,
and like the Kill Bill music playing in the background.
Yeah,
come on.
Like you're trying to get people to fucking want to shoot up a school.
Yeah, you are. And I don't want to be this kind of guy who says like video games cause violence or movies cause violence, because they don't. They categorically don't. Here's the problem. You're still desensitizing people to that idea.
Yeah, definitely.
So they don't cause it, but when you're constantly surrounded by stimulus that shows you violence, graphic violence, with people dying in it, and idolizes it, right? So, for example, video games. The majority of video games, right, will either have two features that I think kind of redeem them from causing violence. They'll either be kind of like tacky, crappy shoot-'em-ups that don't really engage your brain. You're just like, oh yeah, this is mindless violence. Or if they're a story-driven game in which you become attached to a protagonist, they will portray your actions as having consequences.
GTA, for example.
Yeah.
It's a satire.
Yeah, it's very clearly a satire.
It's that's why it's not unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because it satirizes what it is.
Like Hollywood culture.
Yeah, and was it Trevor?
Yeah.
He's a fucking dick. The entire thing makes him out to be a dick.
Yeah, it's like
he's like an unlikable guy.
He's like got a simple cousin who's like so innocent and so sweet, and he treats him like shit and makes him do these horrible things.
Yeah,
it's like GTA doesn't idolize that. It like literally shows you these people are horrible. They're awful. Michael's wife hates him. Franklin has nobody.
I don't think GTA does idolize it. I think GTA
the only
does
thing
a
they've
great
got
job.
going for them is they've got a nice car, lots of guns, and they have a big house. That is the only positive for these people.
Also, I think especially in video games, it's a catharsis. You've got to recognize that it's a catharsis for violence.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think every human has violent thoughts.
Of course, it's literally human nature.
It's programmed into us. I think video games do a very good job at kind of getting that release out
Yeah,
in a healthy way,
yeah,
which is almost needed.
yeah. Especially when you live in a society where you can't. Where, I suppose look, society creates its own kind of downfall in that way, in that you now live in a society where what is normal. For example, if you brawl in the street, right?
Yeah.
Go back like 30 years, and there's more or less no consequence, right? You ever
Yeah.
brawl with someone in the street? If you do it in a public place, you probably get a fine or something.
Yeah.
You might get arrested, but it's not gonna like go on your permanent record, and it's gonna be your life ruined. No, here you have a brawl on the street, and you'll go to prison.
Yeah.
Depending if you're very young, you might get off with it. But if you
that's not to say that it isn't wrong.
no,
it is.
it is wrong. You shouldn't be brawling in the street. But here's the thing: is it is a semi-normal thing.
Yeah.
In that anger is a human emotion that people feel.
Yeah.
You can't legislate anger out of humans.
I don't think a lot of people can accept the fact of what humans are.
Yeah, and so now you've got this kind of culture where okay. Say, we're going to use men as an example because, in the aggregate, men are more likely to, get violent.
Yeah.
Women, we are the angrier sex.
Yeah, that's true.
For better or for worse. So you've got, this society in which young men are told, okay, you're angry at people, but you can't really express that anger in the way you'd like to, or in the way that you're naturally inclined to. So you've got kind of, two options. You can become really effeminate and, cry at everything instead.
Yeah.
Which isn't productive or healthy, and kind of, makes you look like a dick.
Or just destroy your emotions.
Yeah, or bottle it. And then you've got your third option, which is just, you've got, a virtual hooker there, just, go and shoot with a shotgun or something.
Yeah.
And then people do that instead. And then everyone goes, why are they all playing video games? I don't know, maybe because you've, taken everything they could possibly do to express their energy. And that includes negative, because negative energy needs to be expressed. You can't just hold it all in.
It definitely does. I think people don't see that.
You can't just, remove all the ways they could possibly express their negative energy and then, act all shocked at the consequences.
Yeah.
To quote Joaquin Phoenix, you get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck, that film was so good.
I love that film.
That film was so good.
It is good. It's brilliant.
It's one of the... I don't know, it gets better with every viewing.
Yeah, it does. And, what I find quite funny about it is that there are lots of people, and you could tell that movie really resonates with people, because there's lots of people who unironically, wholeheartedly believe the Joker did nothing wrong. Yeah. Like what? So, at the beginning, you've got a bunch of bankers sexually harassing a woman. And then, they threaten to beat the shit out of this guy who says, don't sexually harass this woman. Yeah. And then what? He shoots them? Yeah. I mean, perhaps an overreaction, but I mean, lots of people can kind of resonate with that, in that the Joker is like this. It's like
he's a man of his circumstances.
Yeah, he's a man of his circumstances, and also it's kind of like the penultimate nerd rage movie, isn't it? It's like the fantasy of nerd rage. Yeah, it's like it represents the Joker as a character represents this downtrodden person who's got everything going wrong for him. He's trying. I mean, he takes a job as a clown. And he's a
fucking clown. He's a joke.
Yeah, he literally says, I just want to bring joy to the world, and yet he gets treated like shit. Yeah, and his life possibly couldn't get any worse than it already is. Yeah, and he slowly realizes that you can't just bring joy to the world because the world is evil. So he snaps, and then this one show that he watches that kind of makes it all better. The Murray Franklin show. Yeah. Murray Franklin shows his clip and says, "Haha, you could say that again, pal." Yeah. Nobody's laughing. And then what? So he goes a bit nutty. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that we side with how the Joker acts.
We do not side with shooting talk show hosts that make fun of you and stuff like that, but you can definitely understand where it comes from. Yeah, of course, that as well. Well, that was an unintentional consequence. Yeah. He didn't mean to do it. Obviously, he fed into it at the end, but that's because he'd gone completely insane.
Very interesting about the Joker. What? And I think it was the attention that killers get. I think that was one of the key themes that it gets. There's this shot where it zooms out of him shooting Murray Franklin, and it's on all of the stations. Yeah. And it's like, after killing someone and after doing these mass shootings, let's be real here, they get way too much attention. Yeah. They get so much attention. It feeds it, and then more people want to get that attention.
Not even just that, right? So it's kind of like a cycle. So, for example, in America, they have an issue with gun violence, and
Yeah.
I'm someone who thinks that the issue is way bigger than just taking the guns away. It's so much
It's a
bigger than
mind
that.
frame, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let's be honest here. Guns are cool.
guns are pretty fucking cool, yeah.
Guns are cool.
And I think as a person, you should have the right to own. It's one of those things that everyone always goes, why do you need insert kind of gun here that they say has no use, but then, like, if you actually know anything about guns, they do actually have a use. It's like AR-15s. Everyone always goes, why do you need an AR-15? AR-15s are really good varmint rifles. You got like if you got like a rat problem, like a mole problem, AR-15s are brilliant, and the caliber's really good for it as well. But I digress. So people always go, why do you need it? No. That's not the question you get to ask when you talk about taking things away from people. The question you ask is, why am I allowed to take it away from them? Because when you talk about restricting people's rights and the right to keep and bear arms and, the right to defend yourself is a right. When you talk about restricting that, you don't get people to justify why they have the right. You justify why you get to take it away from them.
Yeah, I understand.
And if you go for, like, say, so for example, this really common tagline is like the AR-15 is the weapon of choice for mass shooters. No, it's not. It's like categorically not. It hasn't really been used in a lot of the like notable shootings. A lot of them are done with, like, say, SIGs or, other kind of rifles. And they go, why do you need a semi-automatic rifle? The majority of hunting rifles in America are semi-automatic. Everyone always goes, you can buy them without a background check. No, you can't. Simple Google search will tell you that. They'll go, there's a gun show loophole. No, there isn't either. That's been debunked so many times. If you look into it, you can tell that this issue is just way bigger than it's made out to be. Like, for example, there are cities in America where you basically can't own a gun, like Chicago.
Yeah.
In the city limits of Chicago, handguns are completely banned. And for some reason that's not been declared unconstitutional. But if you live in Chicago, no handguns for you. None whatsoever. Chicago has one of the highest homicide rates in the continental United States.
Really?
I think a person a day is shot and killed in Chicago.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's fucked. And you'll notice there's a correlation. Baltimore.
Baltimore, fucking hell.
Yeah, Baltimore, St. Louis, where else? Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago. These are all places that have really, really bad gun crime problems that also have really, really strict gun control. And you've got places like, say, like Kentucky or other states with really loose gun control policies that have barely any issues.
Yeah.
And, for example, so the CDC did a study carried out that Steven Crowder likes to tout all the time. Like, say what you will about Steven Crowder, but I think he's kind of A1 about, like, guns and stuff like that. He's kind of cringe, but, he has good arguments in favour of the Second Amendment. But there's a study done which looked at defensive uses of firearms, right? Now, the defensive use, so basically it was estimated that in the United States, roughly 130,000 times a year, a gun is used in self-defense and it prevents crime successfully. That doesn't mean people are shot at. It doesn't even mean the gun is fired. It simply means the gun is made aware to a perpetrator. The perpetrator then, as a result, decides to desist.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the time, that's all it takes. It's the gun. And people go, fuck, I ain't taking that gamble. I don't like my odds here. And it stops. So that happens 100,000 times a year. Now, if you look at comparison, 20,000 people roughly in America die of guns every year. At least half of those are suicides. We take that down to 10,000. And then that figure normally sometimes accounts people who kill in self-defense, justified killings and things like that. And you take it down, you slowly take it down, and the number is way lower than you think it is. I don't have the map. I actually ended up, I think I was planning on asking to give an assembly about gun control. And why it won't work in America, but I never got around to it. But I basically got all the statistics together and created like a definitive list of why it's not good.
How many people go to assembly?
This was when I was in year 11, so everyone was required to go to assembly, and you were actually required to go to assembly. But and it's a talking point that's really echoed all the time, but it's true. If you take away guns from law-abiding citizens, the only people who will have guns are people who are going to, kill people with them, criminals.
Yeah.
And, when the citizenry does defend itself, so, for example, there's been, I think, 3 different occasions I've been made aware of in the past 2 years where people have tried to shoot up churches.
Yeah.
And the churches, and someone in the church has just pulled out a gun, shot him in the head, and carried on. Well, I say carried on. They didn't carry on the fucking service. Maybe the priest had to stop and give him last rites. So, for example, there was a guy. I think his name was David something, and everyone was like, "Why do you need an AR-15?" Well, David needed an AR-15 because a shooter broke into his church, and he had to go get an AR-15, shoot the cunt to stop him from killing anyone.
Yeah.
Luckily, no one died, which is a good thing. But also, like, people go, "Well, you need to wait for the police." Here's the problem: the police take a very long time to get places. And as a human being, you should not be dependent on... Obviously, the government has a duty to protect you. Yeah. But you should not have to be completely dependent on the government to keep you alive.
Yeah.
You should be allowed legally to take steps to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your property.
Yeah.
And I think that's why... Now here, gun control kind of works. It kind of works in that we, don't have very high gun crime rates as a result because we didn't have many guns here beforehand.
Yeah.
In America, there's more guns than people, which creates a massive logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
Right. There's like over 1 billion guns in America. It's disgusting, kind of.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, I say it's disgusting. It's kind of beautiful, but it's kind of based. But there's loads. But here, it kind of works in that we've managed to accurately restrict the supply of guns. But even here, I think, obviously. I think you should have to pass all the same checks. I think the process should be streamlined so that perhaps it's slightly easier to get a gun if you pass all the checks. And I think that the limit, you're only allowed to have 5 guns in this country, right? Sorry, actually, I think it's 3, and if you apply for an additional license, you can have 5.
Yeah. You
can't buy the gun and then register it. You have to register the gun, pay the fee to register it, and then buy it. So if, like, say, you get an offer for a gun, you have to register it and hope to God it doesn't get sold before you buy it, right? Yeah. There's loads of like dumb limits about magazine size, about the kind of you cannot own a semi-automatic weapon in this country. You can't own a handgun in this country.
And it works, doesn't it?
It works, but I think that because the gun control here is really strict.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's ever gonna like do anything like a mass shooting, you're not getting a gun here. They will clock it. They will clock that you are dangerous. They will not let you have a gun. Literally, your whole rifle application can be ruined if your neighbor says, I mean, he might do. Or if they go out and they have to like basically categorically say he will not do anything. He's a model, upstanding citizen. He would never hurt a fly.
Yeah.
Then you're allowed to have a gun. If everyone backs your corner and everything is completely kosher, and as far as anyone is concerned, you are like a saint. You are an actual saint. You'll be Catholic. You'll be canonized upon your death, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if you pass those rigorous tests, the kind of guns you should have should be increased. Like, because as it stands now, if you're someone, and although this sounds dumb, I think you should be allowed to collect a gun because it looks cool.
Yeah.
If a gun's cool, you should be allowed to have it. Obviously, there's a limit. You shouldn't be allowed to have like a fucking, say like a Browning 50 cal machine gun.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bit over the line. But I think that, if you go, well, I just want like, a 6 hour, I want a 1911. Why? They look cool.
Yeah.
I want to shoot in my back garden.
That's what I want to do. When I go to America to live when I'm older, I genuinely just want a gun to shoot shit in my back garden.
It's like, you can get these shooting packages to go in. If you go to Poland, you can get like these shooting packages. And I was looking at them because I was never going to do it because I'd never have the money. But I was looking like doing like a tour around Europe for like a gap year or something. But I was looking at the shooting range in Poland and like the weird packages they have, right? So they've got like, different packages you can shoot, like AK-47s, Mosins, pistols, things like shotguns and all the rest of it. Stuff you cannot get here.
Yeah.
You could definitely get them if you go to America. But they'll charge you way too much for them.
Holy
for
fuck,
the pleasure.
they charge.
Yeah. And in Poland, obviously, everything's cheap in Poland. It's Poland.
Yeah.
So obviously you can like get this done. You can like have like a full day of shooting for like 120 euros, which isn't bad when you think about it. When like you literally cannot get it in your home country, and you can buy additional ammunition at a relatively cheap rate. But there's this section where you can add on extras to the package, and it's got 3 sections in that section, which is before the shooting, during the shooting, after the shooting.
Before the
Yeah, kind of though. Yeah, you get like a meal deal. Before the shooting, you can arrange to have a limo come pick you up for 120 euros.
What the fuck?
You can buy like drinks, like non-alcoholic drinks, for like in the limo, and then you got during the shooting where you can buy like additional ammunition. So you've got like you could buy assault rifle bullets and things like that, and fill the guns you're firing. You can buy a hand grenade, I think for 50 euros to throw.
So badly want to fucking throw a hand grenade.
Yeah, that'd be based. You can use a grenade launcher if you pay them 2,000 euros. You can use a machine gun if you pay them 1,000 euros. And then you got after the shooting, steak and beer party. All right, you know, it's 20 euros. You know, I could go for a steak and beer party after I've done the shooting. That sounds like the most masculine thing in the world. Shooting AK-47s and then going for a beer and a steak. But then it's also got like liter bottle of Absolute vodka, bikini girl, and stripper. So that sounds like
bad.
You can tell their customers purely stag do's, right?
Yeah.
When they've literally got it on, you can order a stripper through the gun range.
Yeah. That's literally the most stag do kind of thing you can do.
That is
I'm going to Poland for my stag.
Well, yeah, just
to shoot guns and fucking have strippers.
Think of the fucking photo opportunity though.
That sounds great.
That would be if I did that would be my profile picture ad infinitum, right?
Yeah.
I would literally just be, you know, me holding an AK-47, big titty Polish GFs by my side, you know. That would be... That is the ultimate stag do experience, and that is probably the chaddest profile picture you could ever have.
Definitely.
Like, if I saw someone with a profile picture like that, I would legitimately be scared. It would be far too powerful for someone like me, clearly. But yeah, that's, you know.
Now we've gone on a trail of... how did we get to fucking Poland and gun control?
I don't know.
We went from the Joker.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was like the idolization of like mass violence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else is there for our last half an hour?
I think we should talk about the new drug.
The new drug. Yeah. We were just discussing this in our break. Porn.
Yeah, porn.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Make sure you, by the way, like and subscribe and leave a comment.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be highly appreciated. But porn, I definitely say that I'm going to admit to you guys, I've definitely had periods of being addicted to porn.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
I actually think porn should be illegal. I'm not going to lie. I know you probably don't resonate with that.
I don't resonate with that, but
I think porn should be illegal.
I think porn is a good exploration of sexual interest, and I think it's a good, healthy thing. But at the same time, I think the UK's porn block was semi kind of justified.
Yeah, especially when you've got like a massive epidemic of children watching porn. Like children should not be watching porn.
I mean, the age I watched porn, what was that? 13. Let's be honest here. 13 or so. Should I have been looking at tits?
No.
Like, should I have been looking at tit fucking?
See, here's the difference, right, between porn and like a kid looking at like there's a difference between a kid finding like some like the page of a dirty old porn mag in like the late 90s and looking at like a girl's tits.
Yeah.
That is completely different to
porn is so much hardcore now.
Yeah, to hardcore pornography that depicts, you know, fetish videos and things like that. That should not be accessible to children.
Yeah.
At all.
Most definitely not. It's so unhealthy.
It's also such a disgusting industry as well, in the way it treats the young women who go in.
Have you ever watched feminist porn?
I haven't, no.
It's a good idea. It's where they're paid well. But the thing is, how do you ever like?
How can you verify? What do I like? Ask if this porn is fair trade?
That's the thing. There must be a certain site.
No, don't get me wrong. I don't watch porn as a matter of principle. I don't think it's good for you. I think that, you know.
I personally do.
Yeah, but you know, that's every lots of people do it. But I think that kind of thing, you should be experiencing sexual pleasure as a reward. That's literally what sex is. It's a reward. It's a reward for you finding a mate, and for you finding someone to settle down with, or someone to have children with.
This is a controversial opinion, but sex is overrated.
Yeah, I dare say that as well. I think the intimacy is where it really is where
that
it
is
really
true.
shines.
I've had very unintimate sex. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's just not good.
No.
the whole point of I'm guessing this is because I haven't had intimate, loving sex, is that I'm sure that having it in a loving relationship is 1,000 times better.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, for especially from like the experiences that other people have had and told me about it is categorically better.
Yeah.
But it's just you shouldn't. This kind of goes against what a lot of people think, is that if there's something that you're not doing right and there's something going wrong, like you're not getting a girlfriend, you shouldn't be feeling good about yourself, right? You should be looking at where the issue is and fixing it.
Here's my advice. If you guys can't get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, here's my advice. And you're worrying about it. Stop worrying about it.
Yeah, at the same time, like the majority of people listening to this, you are young, right? I'm someone who thinks that, family should be young and, should probably have kids when you're like 24 or something. But you've still got a long time.
Yeah, and also, this is just from my experience, but as soon as you want having sex, you're not going to have sex. As soon as you don't want to have sex, it's going to get a lot easier to have sex.
Yeah.
But like, you've just got to stop fucking worrying.
Yeah, it's not the be all end all of human existence like people make it out to be.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And also, just enjoy what you've got. Really.
You live in a world where you can do so many things. Like, for example, it seems our generation actually have the highest recorded spending on experiences. Like, it's not goods, services. Actually, like the Zoomer generation and the generation before us, like people born between like 1995 to now, they are overwhelmingly spending their money on experiences, making memories and stuff, and doing cool shit. Right?
Yeah.
That seems to be where we want our stuff. Whereas like boomers, that they just bought things. They bought like cars. They bought goods.
Yeah.
We want experience.
Nights
right?
out.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's so many other things you can do. There's productive things you can do. Sex isn't the be all end all of everything. And actually, I dare say, porn is really detrimental to if you do want to start having sex.
Definitely.
So the problem with porn is just hyperstimulation. So with porn,
it's a fantasy.
Yeah, it gives you
remember that.
Because obviously with porn, you're not going to be watching the same actress every time. You get the same stimulation as if you're someone who's constantly going from woman to woman. When you start going from woman to woman, your brain becomes more selective. And that's what happens when you start watching hardcore porn, is you become more selective. You find yourself becoming too hyperstimulated to the extent where the stimulus no longer works.
We're not saying you're a bad person if you watch porn.
No, this is kind of just something that happens if you do that. It's when you slowly progress, you have to find porn that's more hardcore. You have to find porn that is...
It's just beating the last one.
Yeah, it's just, you go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Until you're into such a deprived, weird state.
It's just, you like...
weird
until eventually you like get that clarity that happens when you're finished, and then you like look at yourself and you realise, what the fuck?
Yeah, I understand.
Like, for example, during No Not November, the kind of memes that are coming out, that's a really common thing, is people not masturbating and then realising, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What have I been watching? This is disgusting.
Yeah, it's so true. It is true. It's really, really unhealthy. And also, it just really fucks up your point of view of what sex is.
Yeah, it fucks up your point of view of what sex is. It will cause it can cause erectile dysfunction. Like if you are a teenager and you're suffering from erectile dysfunction, that doesn't happen. That is not normal, unless of course you're someone who watches porn all the time.
Yeah.
It can really dramatically reduce. And the same is like if you're someone who constantly engages in casual sex as well. If you eventually find yourself, well, this goes for women as well, because obviously women watch porn too. When you eventually find someone who you want to spend the rest of your life with, you'll find yourself in a place where you're getting far less satisfied. So, for example, people who surveys have been done as well on people who don't watch porn, and people, and these are different surveys, by the way.
This makes you want to stop watching porn. This has been like,
you should.
I should.
There's no. I'm not going to tell you must stop watching porn, but for your own sake, you should stop watching porn. It's not good for you, and also it's not good for the people who star in it either.
No, it isn't.
The porn
really
industry is a
isn't.
very sexually exploitative industry.
Yeah.
And the young women who go into that industry are often find themselves destroyed by that industry.
Definitely.
Don't think just because Riley Reid like smiles at the Pornhub Awards and like says cute things on Twitter when people say don't do porn, she goes, shut the fuck up and jack off to my porn. Yeah, she's doing that now while she's like, what, 23?
She's gonna
check up on Riley Reid in 20 years.
Yeah. See the
check
shit,
up on her.
See the shit that she's coming out with.
Yeah, I've kind of seen it. I've seen a little bit. I remember I saw someone, I think, posting about how pornography is bad, and she replied to their tweet saying, shut the fuck up and jerk off to my porn.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Just wait until she's in her 40s and she starts coming out about the porn industry.
Yeah, she will. It's like Mia Khalifa. Mia Khalifa was she was kind
biggest fucking porn actress ever. Have you seen her interviews on the BBC?
I haven't, but I've seen like clips. I know that she's come out massively against the porn industry.
She has, yeah.
She hates it.
Yeah, no, she smiles and laughs in all the fucking videos, but Jesus Christ.
You can tell it's really fucked with her.
Yeah, she's someone who, and I did some research into this, but she was suffering, I think it was from like a lot of body dysmorphic disorder or something like that. Very self-conscious about her body. And then suddenly there's these guys that come across. They're like, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you should totally do some stuff for us. It's manipulation.
Yeah, which factors into the exploitation factor in that they find, and they're
Young,
all vulnerable girls.
Yeah.
These aren't, most of them, obviously, there's always exceptions to the rule, but these aren't good girls from good homes that are, having brilliant lives, and they've just decided,
these are people with
their own volition, when I grow up, I want to be a porn actress. That's
Yeah.
that's not the origin story for porn actresses. A lot of them, so for example, Carly Rae Summers, I only found out about her existence because she did a documentary on the BBC about what life was like as a porn star. She, and this is a recurring theme with lots of porn actresses, is she was raped when she was 16.
I was just about to bring that up. There's this woman. Do you know Amanda Lovelace? Is it Amanda Lovelace? Lovelace?
She's like the really old school porn actress.
Old school porn actress. One of the highest grossing porn film, Deep Throat.
Yeah.
I know this is weird that I know this. There's a film about it and a book.
It's like a cultural thing. It's
Yeah.
not just like Scoob is not a connoisseur of vintage porn. And
To be honest,
am
I do regularly watch vintage. Have you ever watched? I'm gonna stop. I was like, have you ever seen Russ Myers' really good work?
I haven't. No,
I have done way too much.
I'm not a connoisseur. I'm not a connoisseur of any kind of porn. I don't.
I have
porn.
actually watched way too much vintage porn, which is very softcore and very plot driven. You guys can find it all over the web. Russ Myers.
So you watch it for the story.
Not gonna
just to find out if the pizza actually gets eaten at the end.
No, basically there's these great porn films. They're not even porn. They're like they're like topless women.
Right. Okay.
They're like they're these films made by Russ Myers, and they're so of their time. They're like really anti-racist. Like there's like some big political things against communism and shit.
Right.
So it's just like watching it. It's like this is a time capsule. This is a time capsule in the idea of like of a porn. I love it.
That's one of the great takeaway messages of today is vintage porn is a time capsule.
Yeah, when we look back on the porn of today, we'll be like, wow, that really represents the 21st century.
That's sad. It kind of does, doesn't it? It really kind of does. Just a consumerist demand for instant sensation and instant satisfaction.
Definitely.
It captures the spirit of the 21st
If you
century,
watch
not in a
porn
good way.
from different ages, you'll see what.
I'm not going to do that, but I'll take your word for it.
If you watch, because so you see back in the 60s, porn is a lot slower, a lot more softcore. There's a lot more plot to it, like a lot of.
They get married beforehand.
Yeah,
it's done properly.
But like, there's this other, and nowadays, what do you get? It's like, oh, I walked in on my cousin. Let's fuck.
That's so fucking weird. It's
it
like
is. No.
Have you seen how popular that shit is now? Like
Yeah.
And they say, oh, if I put step in the title, it's not incest. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't matter because the thing is, you're still fantasizing about fucking your sister.
Yeah.
Right? You're not fantasizing about fucking your stepsister because not that many of you come from fucking broken homes.
Yeah.
Now, right? You're fantasizing about having sex with your sister. You're fantasizing about having sex with your mum, and that kind of feeds into what I was talking about earlier about is constant. You look into more in-depth, more forbidden, more stimulating porn.
Yeah.
And you find that in like the fucked up stuff, which isn't right. You're not supposed to not supposed to idolize fucking your mother or fucking your sister. That's wrong. That's
No, it
categorically
is wrong.
Or like all kinds like cuckolding.
Yeah, cuckolding.
Yeah, that's not normal, dude.
That's
if
not
you
great.
if you have a
But
cuckolding
you know what?
fetish,
We're not shaming you. We're not saying you're a bad person.
No, you're not a bad person,
or,
but
or for
it's
wanting to fuck your mum. You're just a little bit fucked in the head.
Yeah,
you should
and
probably get a therapist.
Yeah, that's arguably not even your fault. You know, that's just
Yeah.
that's like going down the primrose path. You know, you have
Probably
you
related
have
to some trauma.
Yeah, maybe. You know, it's something you're constantly told that, you know, hey, porn's great, come watch some porn, and then you're constantly getting hyperstimulated, and then you find yourself falling down the waltzing down the primrose path until you know, oh, gee, I'm watching videos about fucking my mother, and no, as I've said before, putting step in front of it doesn't make it different.
That does, I agree with you there.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any different.
Back to Amanda Lovelace.
Yeah,
This girl, biggest grossing fucking porn, probably one of all time, Deep Throat. She makes it, smiles all the way through, does it. You know what she comes out with 20 years later? She was raped multiple times. That's a rape film.
Shit. What, during that film she was being raped?
Yeah, basically.
Damn.
She was forced at gunpoint.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. She's done that for multiple of her films. Her husband at the time is an abusive person and forced her into porn.
Oh shit. I did not know she was like fucking she had a gun pointed at her and forced to do porn.
Yeah, no, dude. It's really fucked up. She's like genuinely. She's written so many books about it, and there's a good film about it. But yeah, no.
I know they made a film about the production of Deep Throat. I never watched it.
Yeah,
I was quite young when it came out, and you know I haven't really developed the interest to watch it. But you know, in summary of that whole thing, is the porn industry is very sexually exploitative towards young women.
Yeah.
It ruins their lives, and in an extent, it ruins yours. You know, it kills your dick.
it does kill your dick. Trust me.
It kills your dick. It makes you isolated. You're not gonna have satisfying sex later on down the line.
Watching porn every so often isn't bad though, as much, would it? I mean,
Me personally, I'm in favour of complete abstinence, but you know, as Scoob said, it's not gonna be the end of the world if you watch porn once in a while. What I'm gonna say as my final note on porn is don't watch it. Both because it's bad for you, and also just because from a moral standpoint, you shouldn't support that industry.
That is true.
Because of the horrific things it does. And it's not good. Like, for example, there was a big thing, and this is bad. I can't believe I'm like vibing with 4chan here. But on 4chan,
Yikes.
there was like a big trend of like, there's a girl who's currently gotten into porn. I think she's only like 19, but she's quite a simple girl. She's from the south, and she's simple. I mean, as in she has the mind of someone significantly younger than her. On set, she has like a little plush that she carries with her.
Oof.
Like,
That's
is it
fucked up?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh no. I looked into it, and I'm like, oh god, oh no.
It's taking advantage of people.
Yeah, and the problem is when you hear her talk, she sounds like a little girl.
Oh no, that's with so many fucking porn. It's like it's a weird infantilization of women.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so I understand they're of consenting age, but here's the problem. One, it seems as though you're finding girls that have the most prepubescent bodies possible.
That's so true.
And getting them to
Ariana Grande
act.
being sexualized. She looks like a fucking 12-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, and also like finding women to act as childish as possible. Obviously, it doesn't harm people. It doesn't harm children. So to call it paedophilia is probably a bit too much. But you're bordering on territory there. You're getting to the extent where, okay, I'm sexually you're sexually attracted to people who have the body of like prepubescent teenagers and the attitude of children.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you a pedo, buddy, but you know
you're pretty close.
You need you need to kind of like look at yourself.
And we're not deeply judging you. We're not saying, oh, it's a fucking monstrous thing.
It's a natural progression of the porn industry, I think.
Yeah, it's once again, watch porn. It's a time capsule.
Yeah, it's peak porn. It leads to that. And yeah, and if you're a young woman, please don't ever do porn.
Yeah, we really
I beg of you.
Yeah, no, it would be absolutely terrible. No, genuinely, just if you're gonna do porn, genuinely think, are you being taken advantage of here?
Yeah.
Is this preying on my insecurities? You know, I don't know. I did watch a feminist porn documentary, and this is why I'm bringing up feminism. They're filming on set. It was filmed by a woman. The director is a woman. and it's all these. It's like it's very calm porn. It's not like rough, hardcore sex.
All right.
And so, I don't know where to find this porn, but if you can find it, maybe go for that.
Wow. I guess I have a reluctant endorsement for feminism.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I suppose if you're going to watch porn, please don't. But if you do, watch feminist porn.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good place to wrap up an episode.
I think that's
in
great as well.
summary,
I think we've learnt a lot.
yeah, don't eat bats.
Don't eat bats. Mental health has a stigma.
Yeah.
And mental illness as well.
The Yugoslavian Civil War happened.
Yeah, that did happen. So did we nearly won the Vietnam War.
Yeah, we nearly won the Vietnam War in 1946. Oh, I didn't mention with that. Do you know how we helped fight the Viet Minh?
How?
We rearmed the Imperial Japanese Army.
Nice.
Although the Imperial Japanese Army had ceased to exist, we actually rearmed them. So for a brief period in 1946, the Imperial Japanese Army became active again because of us.
Good for them.
Yeah, so we almost won the Vietnam War in 1946. Don't shoot up schools.
Yeah, that's a key one to take away.
American Horror Story is bad.
Yeah, it's also just a badly made show.
It's also just a badly made show. It's also kind of cringe. It's just a bunch of tropes. But moving on. And finally, stop watching porn.
Yeah.
Get a girlfriend.
Get a girlfriend. Stop caring about getting a girlfriend and then get one.
Yeah, stop caring about getting... It will happen. You will have sex incel, but it's just... You gotta wait. It's gonna happen. But, you know, good things come to those who wait. And I think that's a good place to end the second episode of the Cult of Current Affairs. Thanks, Scoob, for coming on. It's been great having you.
Thank you very much. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, we'll see you next episode.
See you next episode.